Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. So I was recently watching some news about why certain countries have not experienced inflation as much as the United States and Western Europe, or at least haven't experienced the pains from inflation. They talked about Switzerland and how because they're relatively well off that they don't spend a whole lot of their income on necessities. I gotta point out something. Some people like to think that there's essentials and then there's discretionary spending. I gotta point out something. In a free country, all spending is discretionary spending. There's nothing that says you can't stop eating altogether. You might starve to death, or you might find some other way to hunt or gather your food, right? There's nothing to say you can't live in a tent somewhere. And for some people, it might not be advisable, but for some people actually enjoy doing it, right? So for example, right now, part of the reason I took this trip is because I'm kind of in between places. Over in Phoenix, it's a lot less expensive to stay here, and I have a week off, so why not, right? It wasn't essential for me to have a place in Phoenix, right? There are choices to be made. Even staying in this hostel was a discretionary expense when it comes down to it, right? There are always a lot of other choices. Now, why do I say that? Because too many people stuff their face and say, oh, it's essential! Meanwhile, their waistlines, right? Or they have too many closed-minded matters. They stay in toxic relationships because, oh my God, it's essential to have a partner here in the United States, right? And I gotta point out all of that. Even the concept of staying alive is discretionary, in my opinion. There are plenty of good reasons to die for. So, for example, there have been times where I've been tempted to starve myself to death to prove a point, because at my workplaces I wasn't getting treated correctly. I wasn't getting treated correctly by my family. So it really shoots down the image that it's a necessity to stuff your face, right? And I think if a lot of people realize that, then this whole inflation story would play out a whole lot differently. I mean, I probably spent, I could compare my receipts because I use credit cards so much. I probably spend less on food today than I did in 2018, 2019 when I was eating like crazy. And what I really love is that this past week, as you guys have been following, I quit masturbating again. And this time I didn't feel the need to replace it with food. That was a big one in my past. There were too many times when I tried to quit masturbating and then my eating habits got out of hand, and I had to, kind of pivot, right? And worry about the masturbating later, right? All right. This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum, 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum, 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 bum.